Hello and welcome to Card Shop Insiders, a podcast where we bring together decades of experience from both sides of the counter to take you inside the business of local game stores and collectible gaming hobbies. I'm Noah and I play games, lots of them.
Hi, I'm John. I'm the card shop owner, a veteran of the industry, and a survivor of the industry as it's been over the last couple of years.
Well, John, we're back at the table again for a second episode. How's things been going for the shop?
It's been crazy, Noah. The last couple of days with the official release of Star Wars Unlimited has been better than I expected. We did the pre-release last week. We got a substantial number of people that came in that showed interest in it. However, this past week, people came in and bought and bought and bought. And we did a league type situation on Saturday that brought in a substantial number of people. And they bought all the starter decks. I think I have one or two left. They bought just about every booster box that I had. And supplies are flying off the table. The problem is trying to get more of this product because the distributor on their website is completely sold out from what I can tell. And Lorcana naturally continued to do well. The last set,
Into the Inklands.
Yeah, whatever the hell it's called. It's been phenomenal. It's tied the three sets together, and people are excited. They like the league. They like the promos, and I think both companies, Fantasy Flight and Ravensburger, have good mechanics of the game, and I think the games are going to go pretty well.
That's very cool. I've seen some things on the internet, other content creators talking about those two new games and about whether they have staying power in the industry. I know you've been doing this for several decades and you've seen a lot of games come and go. Do you think, from your perspective, these two games are looking a little bit different at the start than some of the stuff that's come up and kind of flash fired and run out?
Yeah, I do, Noah. You get a gut feeling for some of these. Now, the problem is they got to support the game. They have to come out with more product. Initially, when Lorcana came out, there was a product shortage because they really didn't expect the big reaction. But you got the collectors and you got the game players, and it brought in kids. It brought in females into the industry or to the gaming stores, which some of the other games don't bring in. And Star Wars is pretty similar. I've gotten from young children to females that want to play the game. It's very similar. So I think if they bring in that market, it's going to keep going. Now, there's one game that kind of fell off the wayside lately, and that's Flesh and Blood.
Really?
Flesh and Blood has, I don't know what the hell's going on with it. The problem is, I think they're spending more time, from what I hear from the players, they're spending more time developing the game in other countries. And the promo cards, from what the players are telling me, are terrible. I mean, even though they're free, we're getting them to bring in, support to the game, but it's kind of went by the wayside. And I've had a couple of people who have dropped out of the game, who are selling their stuff, and some of the veterans that really want to play are kind of disinterested right now. The problem is, I think they came out with a couple of bad sets. And I'm not sure exactly what the problem is, but another customer came in that I never saw before, and he said all the other game stores are experiencing the same type of problem. They do well when the release first comes out, they get people coming into play, and then subsequent weeks, they're not getting the players into the store to play.
It's interesting looking at the Flesh and Blood model. I've not played Flesh and Blood, but a lot of the other podcasts and media that I consume about gaming talks about Flesh and Blood, and it seems like they are developing a community internationally. They've got a decent scene going in Europe. They're working pretty hard to be able to support that, but I have not heard complaints similar to that. What I've heard is that they are focused a lot on organized play, and particularly like large tournaments and large organized play opportunities. And I wonder if that has an effect on the local game stores. The local game stores become just the faucet where the supply comes through, but really people are trying to aggregate that supply into competitive play. And they're looking to play in large tournaments, several hundred people, big money on the line. Didn't Flesh and Blood make a big mark on the industry by publicly committing a lot of money to their organized play program?
Yes, they did. At the beginning, I believe the first year was $1 million in prize money over the course of the year or whatever it was going on. And they have these big conventions that are part of other games. And I know that Star City Games runs these big events where they have Magic and they have Lorcana and they have Flesh and Blood. So that could be the problem. And I think it's a problem too, because everybody wants to go to these big events. and the support of the local stores are not there right now, from what I could determine. Now, that just could be this store, and could be just my opinion, but that's what I'm gaining.
Well, let's contrast that for a second with what we've seen with the two games we started off talking about. So you mentioned Lorcana had a supply problem off the bat. You and I have talked privately about how difficult that made it for you as a shop owner to continue to pull interest into the game because you couldn't sell anything. You reached a point, I know, in the store that you had to keep some of the product available to support organized play. And I think that indicates that you find organized play to be an important component of these games being released and sustained. Is that right?
Yeah. No doubt about it. People like to come in, and they like to come in to play casually. I've noticed at this particular store, I guess the word tournament, official tournament, turns some people off. They get a little bit disenchanted with it. They don't want to play it. And they'd rather just play and do casual. Whereby some of these stores are running big events. They're running case tournaments. They're running big money tournaments. Yeah, that's getting people into the store. It's getting people into the store just for that event. And then that store never sees that local customer anymore. My philosophy is make it available, make it fun for everybody. People keep coming in. This particular season of the Inklands, I think the initial Saturday that we did the first session, we got 18 players in. Now, it doesn't contrast to the first time that we did it back in September with the first chapter. The first weekend, we got 38 players that came in and joined the league. We did drop some people, and the reason being is because of lack of supply with the initial set. I guess they got discouraged by it because they couldn't get it, and if I didn't have it, they were looking online, and the online prices were outrageous, so it turned some people off. Now, in all defense of Ravensburger, this was their first venture into a collectibles card game. So they made mistakes. However, from what I understand is they produced 10 times the amount of product that a normal release of any other product would be. So I guess the demand for more than 10% really hit. But I think their problem was too is they tried to come out with too many products. They came out with the boosters. They came out with the troves. They came out with the starter decks. They came out with the gift boxes and all this other stuff, which they couldn't supply enough to people. And people wanted this stuff. And when they couldn't get it, I think they quit the game.
Well, I think from my perspective as a player, I think those variety of options were cool to start with. I think there's benefits to each of the different ones. There's unique cards. There's the oversized cards in the gift boxes that came out. The troves, it was hard for me with the troves. They've got the cool box that comes with them, but dollar value versus number of packs that come in them. The accessories that were in the first two boxes weren't very exciting. I know with the third box now in Inklands, they've done a new thing, changed up what they include. So I think that's really cool that they're adapting and learning from it. But maybe from a business perspective, they've offered too many different products or too many SKUs. But from a player's perspective and looking at the stuff that came out, it did create interest in me in particular wanting one of everything and trying to collect it all. And I think that's what Ravensburger wants. They want people looking after it, wanting to buy it, trying to find it wherever they can. I think that's just been one of the hard things with that game and with that product is that people are worried still a little bit that this supply is going to dry out again, because we had 2-3 months last year where there was nothing to be sold.
Right.
But since set 2 came out, they've done a great job of keeping product stocked. I don't think you've run out, to my knowledge, of availability on set 2 or 3 when people are asking for it. And now we're into set 3. We've got product. We're having a really good time playing in the store. It's a lot of fun to be able to open up packs, and people are having success, being able to play the game as a group.
Now, we have product, but we don't have a sufficient product like the troves and the gift boxes. Not the game boxes, but the gift boxes. And I only got allocated, which means that the distributor said, hey, with your buying experience or your buying record, you're only allocated certain number. And I only got 5 troves and I got 2 gift boxes. Now, I asked my distributor, is this going to be a problem in the future? He said, no. He said that, or my distributor, my sales rep, I should say. He says no, because Ravensburger realizes that, they got to get more of this into the store. So from this point on, it's going to be a better supply, supposedly. Now we'll wait and see what happens with the next set, if that's true.
Interesting. Well, let's compare that with what we've seen with the Star Wars set that came out. There was initial trepidation about the Star Wars game just in general, being published by FFG, past experience with Star Wars games across the spectrum, not just FFG's past endeavors, but we don't have a Star Wars game that has endured the test of time to this point, and so now FFG's come out with a really cool concept, an absolutely fun to play game, beautiful product, awesome art on the cards, awesome variants on the cards, and they put that out to us. And what's been your experience in seeing players that have learned about it and people that have been coming into the store to get some of that?
Oh, they want more. They want to continue playing. I believe they put together a good OP program also. The packs, for instance, for attending on a weekly basis are really good. There's some great cards in there. People have pulled them this past weekend. And I think Star Wars is going to continue to do well. Hopefully, I'll get more product coming in, and we'll see what happens. I think they're going to supply enough.
So with the Star Wars game, we've got you referenced the OP packs that they published in their organized play program. I think that's a little bit of a contrast from what we've seen with the new Lorcana game. Lorcana, in my experience, has sent you like an OP kit. It's got some written instructions, but there's not a lot of like top-down influence talking to you about OP, trying to push and help and support OP. Where on the other hand, Star Wars has, I believe, an executive level position at FFG that they've hired somebody into that is supposed to just organize OP. He's very committed to the program. He's working to make it a real community experience, and that's why they're emphasizing not just the competitive aspect of organized play, but also like the collecting and community components of that as well. How have you seen that affect what we've done over the weekend here with Star Wars players coming in, getting their cards open and getting on the tables with the games?
Let me ask you a quick question. The guy that you said that they hired, is that the guy that left the day of the release of the product?
No, that's a different guy. The guy they've got, organized play is directed and run right now by one guy, but they did lose one of the core leaders for the game that left last week. So let's talk more about organized play for Star Wars this weekend. We had a good turnout, but I wanted to know your perspective. You said that the stuff sold like hotcakes. But what is more important for a store like this to stay operating? Is it the sales for the people that didn't come in and play the game? Or is it the people that are coming into the store? Or is there some hybrid between the two that's like your magic space that you're trying to be in?
I guess the sales, overall sales to everybody. Now, I'm partial to the people who come in who will play every single week. I feel it's an obligation of the store owner to make sure that they have enough product to support that. The way the league is going to work for Star Wars is they're going to come in and they're going to pay a weekly fee to play, and they're going to get one pack, plus they're going to get one of those promotional packs to play. Right now, I'm hoping to get more Star Wars from my distributor. He's trying to get some more, I guess, allocated whatever he's got left. And if not, I still got 2 boxes on the shelf that I'm going to not sell, that I'm going to use in specifics for my organized play people that come in to make sure that they have product.
I thought it was interesting with the OP organization. They did send you the OP kit, which has the promo packs in it. Those are, for those that don't know, those are 3 card packs with special alternate art and finishes for the cards in the set. So there's some cards that are new art that are not in the regular boosters. There's also the starter deck specific cards with the extended hyperspace finish on them that you can only get out of those OP packs. It's very cool. It's heavily sought after. People on the internet are going crazy over some of those products. But they sent you that kit, and they said that kit was designed to support, one kit supports 8 players
over 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
Right.
And I know because I was here that we had 9 players.
Right.
So that obviously that eats out of what's available to run 8 full weeks of organized play, because you got 9 people on an 8-person kit. Is that something that gives you a little bit of concern as a store owner trying to make that community play space?
Yes, it is. However, I got 2 kits, so we were going to be able to draw from that second kit. Getting back to Star Wars, I like what Star Wars has done by just putting out the boosters and the 2-player starter. They didn't come out with a plethora, you like that word?
I do.
Of all kinds of stuff, because it would make it too confusing. And it made people focus on, hey, I got so much money to spend. I'm going to buy a booster box. I'm going to buy a 2-player starter. They didn't have to worry about these ancillary kits where they had all different kinds of products. They may come out with that in the future, but I think by keeping it simple was the best way for them to do it.
Well, let's talk for a second about the backbone of the store, though. You got Magic the Gathering. They had a big release this week. Fallout. They had collector boosters and commander products come out with Fallout theming. Not something that I personally was super interested in. I do play Magic, but Fallout wasn't a game that I played as a kid or as an adult, so I didn't get deep into it, but it is sold and sold very well. Is that right?
Yes. Again, I was allocated in the amount that I was able to get. Initially, my allocation was 6 booster boxes of collector packs, and I was allocated 4 cases of 4 decks of commander decks. My distributor or my sales rep was ultimately able to get me 5, and everything sold. I have people waiting to see if I can get more, and I tried 2 distributors already to get more. My primary distributor, and he just sent me a text saying, oh, Fallout is all, gone. There's no more. And my other distributor, my backup, got back to me last night because she just got back from Gamma, and she said that no Fallout. Sorry. And as we're sitting here talking, I've been waiting for information about Star Wars. And my sales rep just informed me that he's got 18 boxes that are going to be shipped to me of Star Wars, which is good. So we're good for another couple of weeks.
I think that's exciting. I think you'll be able to get product in. I think it's a lot of fun. It's a great product to open. The cards are beautiful. I think people really want to hunt those chase cards, the showcase varieties that they're calling them for the leaders. People are really digging in, looking for those. I'm not sure. Has anybody in the store admitted to opening a showcase yet?
No,
I don't think so.
Not to my knowledge.
Nobody on Saturday had known about it. Let's pause for a second, this kind of line that we've been on, and I want to talk for a second, go inside of the industry if we can. Name of the podcast is Card Shop Insider. Let's talk about allocation. You've mentioned it with each of the products that we've talked about, and maybe our listeners want to hear a little bit about what you think, how that works, how it affects stores, or how it affects a small store like this, or maybe even a startup store that's trying to get going in the business. So what is allocation when you talk about it?
All right, allocation is the number of items, individual SKUs, that the distributor is going to be able to sell to you. Now, your allocation is based on previous orders. I know there's some stores out there that order $100,000 a month or more. They're going to get a bigger allocation of products because they have their sales history is much bigger. They have a bigger store. So naturally, the distributors are going to give them more to support their needs. Going down the pecking order, I get what I can get. I try very, very hard to get these products. Sometimes, I'll give you, for instance, on this Inklings, this past one, they said, hey, just order what you want. However, it's going to be subject to allocation. I said, okay. So I ordered 12 troves. I ordered 12 gift boxes. I ordered 36 boxes of the Inklings. Ultimately, I got the 36 boxes, but I only got the 5 troves and the 2 gift boxes. That's what I was allocated because the distributor didn't get all that product that they thought they were going to get, which, the bigger stores got more. And it depends upon how many kits to get sent out too, because when you sent the original information to Ravensburger to set up your account, they took into account how big of a store you are. Some stores were allocated 1 kit like this because it's a smaller store. Some stores got 2, and I think the bigger stores got 3, so they could support more people in organized play.
Well, John, how do you think that affects growth? I mean, you're a small store. If you found the desire to make this bump up to a medium-sized store, and you were like, you know what, we've got 2 great new games on the market. We've got a cornerstone game with Magic that's been in the market, and we've been able to sell for a long time. We've got a good group of people coming in. Community in this area is growing. I want this store to get bigger. You reach out to your distributor. They say, hey, you're allocated as a small shop. You're only getting 18 boxes. How do you get bumped up on the priority list to say, hey, I want to be able to sell 30 boxes. I want to be able to sell 45 boxes. Are you still just asking for the scraps at the table from the big shops, that whatever's left over? Or is there some other way to try to make that system work better for you?
Well, there's 2 different ways. Let's put it this way. The more money you spend, the more you're going to be allocated. So if I say to my distributor, hey, next month I'm going to buy $100,000 worth of product from you, they're going to allocate more to me. It's based on that. Or you can try to do where you order from multiple distributors. Now the problem is Magic it's got certain distributors. They got 4 or 5 of them that they deal with, and Lorcana only has 3. So one is very, very difficult to deal with. I think I told you that once before or in our first podcast. The other 2 are much, much better. The one I use as my primary is great. My secondary one is great. So I can get additional product from them in order to build up more inventory. But more inventory costs more money. And if I go from this size store to a bigger store, that's where it just boils down to money. So if you have a couple $100,000 that you want to invest, we can make it bigger.
So you're telling me from your perspective, the way this works is that if you've got the money to spend on it, they will usually let you spend the money, but with a little forecasting. You gotta massage that relationship, tell these people it's going to be coming down the pipe, and they'll hook you up. But that represents sort of a big risk, doesn't it?
Sure it does. But money talks, Noah. Money talks. And I've seen stores my size that have overextended themselves. They bought a pallet of one Magic, I forgot what it was, one of the special Magic sets, and they expected to take it all and double their money on eBay. Well, that didn't happen because the set was lousy and they got stuck with all this and they got in financial trouble. And fortunately, whatever I have on the shelf, I pay for. I own. I don't owe anybody, when it comes for product, because that's how you can get in trouble if you overextend and then it doesn't sell and then you're into your credit card company or you're into the distributor for a certain amount of money, then they're going to put you on credit hold. You're not going to be able to get any product, and then you're in deep trouble.
Well, it sounds like that's part of your experience, and why your experience is so valuable in the industry is knowing how much you're going to be able to move when a new product comes in. Is that part of the deal?
It is, but that really boils down to not only the card industry, but any type of retail business that you deal in. You have to know your customers. You have to know their buying habits. You have to look and say, hey, I think this will sell. However, I'm not sure if it's going to sell really big. So what you do is you order a little bit of it, and if it sells, fine. You can usually always get more. Now, sometimes you can't get more. If you have to get more, you may have to pay more for it. But that's fine. I'd rather pay more for something than have something sitting on the shelf for months and months or years or better. That's not going to sell.
All right, we're a podcast. People like stories and stuff on podcasts. And people like it when people screw up things on podcasts. What's the biggest miss you've had? Have you been stuck with a large inventory of something that just won't go away?
Not an exceptionally large amount, but I've had some dogs along the way that I've dumped on eBay or dumped in a store here. I guess the most recent, getting back to Lorcana, was the Rise of the Floodborn decks. I still have 6 displays of decks. And they'll sell eventually. I'll probably have to stick them on eBay if I can, but as a Lorcana account, I'm not supposed to do this. And the reason I got stuck with so many of them is because I bought a deal and my distributor said, hey, if you buy 2 boxes of this, we'll give you 6 boxes of this. So the 2 boxes of dog product versus the 6 boxes of good stuff basically paid for everything.
It's like a loss leader, right?
It is.
Isn't that the concept in retail, that you buy something that you know you're going to take a hit on because you can sell something companion with it? And so you brought in the decks and you're pretty much out of packs from the second set now, aren't you?
Yeah, the second set is done well. It was slower, but I think with the advent of the third set coming in, and plus some new players, they wanted to go back to get the second set. Now, hopefully they'll reprint some more of the first chapter, the first set. I think they will, from what my distributor has indicated, and I'll probably find out more information this week because he just came back from the Gamma, and I haven't talked to him yet, just text him back and forth. But I'll have some more insider information that he could share. And again, my distributor or my sales rep is great because he shares information with me. He gives me a heads up, about things that are coming out. And that's the relationship you have to build with your sales rep.
What about people that don't have that relationship? What are they doing to try to stay in the game with this?
They're in deep trouble. You got to have personality to deal with these people. And again, these people are there to help you most of the time, but they're there to make money too. That's their job. And you got to become friends with them. They have a family to support. they're going to try to push everything on you that they can. I guess the person that I deal with and I like the most, I've dealt with him for years. And when he was transferred to different jobs within the company, he said to his higher ups, hey, I'm going to keep John at the toy factory because I know he won't deal with anybody else. So I've kept him, and we've had a good rapport. He doesn't really try to stick me with products that he doesn't think I'm going to sell because he knows my business. I used to sell sports cards, some limited amount of sports cards, but I'd have people coming in and saying, I can get them at the grocery store, for $2.99 or at Target or whatever, but they don't realize that that's the retail version versus the hobby shop version of the cards. And there's two distinct versions between them. The hobby shop being the more prolific, where you're going to get better pulls and stuff. But they don't understand that. All they see is, hey, $2.99 versus $3.99.
Well, that's the market for sports cards is heating back up. Is that something that you're looking at dipping your toe back into, John?
Hell no. No way in hell I'm getting back into that. Too volatile a market. Plus, I don't have the space. I know there's stores that just specialize in sports cards. And that's great, but it's not for me. Plus, I'm too damn old to be doing this.
So for people that aren't into the hobby, to you, there's a fundamental difference between a piece of cardboard with an athlete's picture printed on it and a piece of cardboard that goes into a game.
True. They can play the piece of cardboard that goes into a game, but they'll cherish. They'll look at their card. They'll put it in a slab. They'll have it graded, and it just sits there. And sits there and sits there. And their wife is probably saying, what the hell are you doing with all these cards? You're spending all this money. Whereby the gaming cards, they can come in and they can play and they can interact and they can bring their kids in like you do or your wife like you do. And I got a kick out of your wife the other day when she beat some of the guys in Lorcana because she, screeched out loud that she beat somebody. And that was fantastic. I liked seeing that.
Well, that's the excitement that I think you get from being able to play an over-the-table game. A lot of these games you can play online in your basement on the couch if you want to, but there's an experience to be had. And I think, getting back to our earlier conversation, I think that that's one of the things that FFG is doing really well with the Star Wars game is that they want that community experience. They want you to have fun as a group, and they want that fun to happen in lots of different ways. Like you acknowledge, people don't want to play tournament for us, maybe in the Lorcana scene, but we've got people that want to come in the store, they want to open packs, they want to play the game, they want to trade the cards. And FFG explicitly wrote in the organized play instructions that you should be counting people as participants that are just coming in for the social experience of interacting with the game, right?
Right, that's true. Getting back to tournament play, Lorcana just put out a thing about the store championship. Now, I've had a couple people that I know they go from store to store to store to store to try to win the big prize, whether it be money or whether it be an enchanted card, and that's what they do. They hit store to store to store. They're not reliable customers. They don't come in all the time, except one that I know of that comes in all the time. But the first question out of texted me, he said, store championship, are you going to run it? And I said, I'll apply for it. So we'll see if we get the approval to run it. However, you are a little bit more informative as far as what's the requirements for the rules on the store championship.
Ravensburger's put out some much more specific rules. No cash prizes. They've really set out the prize structure for the promo cards and the playmats. It's a gorgeous promo card. Let's all be honest. That Rockstar Enchanted is something that everybody's going to want, and it's going to be worth a lot of money. So it's basically getting money for your prizes, but they don't want cash prize supplementing. They do want stores to supplement though, and they're not providing, as far as I can tell from what I've read, they're not providing prize support other than the promo cards and the playmat that are coming to the selected stores. And then there's a really rigid qualifying process. You and I were looking at it for your application the other day. It was a little bit confusing what they want. You've been an OP store from day one. As far as I understand it, you've been getting the kit. You've been encouraged by Ravensburger to hold events and to sell the product here. And there's a little bit of a question about whether or not a store like you is even going to be considered, which I think is a real tragedy of the organized play dynamic that's going on inside of the game.
I hope we get our application approved. I know you and I talked the other day because you got on Reddit or something like that people are expecting this store championship stores to run it for free. What's your feeling on that?
I've never played in a card tournament where there's real prizes that you get into it for free. I've not. I've played in-card tournaments since I was 10. I have always paid to play in my tournaments. I've never done the searching thing where I go to the big tournament from like tournament to tournament trying to just win all the cash prizes. But, when you go to a big event, you pay to play in the tournaments. When you go to a local shop, you pay to play in the tournament. It covers the costs in the store. It covers the prizing. I think it's really reasonable for you to have to pay for it. And I think it's absolutely unreasonable for gamers to think that they should just get to sit down at the table with a chance to walk away with several $100s worth of prizes, and they didn't have to pay for the experience. I think that's what we do in life. We pay for experience.
It's going to be kind of fun to see what happens in the future as far as this. First, I have to make sure I get the approval, and then I'm going to make a decision what I'm going to charge. It's not going to be an outrageous amount. If I put in a couple of packs, per person that comes in, I'll have to recover those costs. If the kit is entirely free, that's great. Getting me back to Star Wars, the weekly OP kit, I had to pay for. So I have to recover that money somehow, some way. Hence, every week it's going to be a weekly fee in order to play into that event, to get those cards.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable, though. I think you have to understand it as part of participating in the hobby, that, you like I said, you pay for experience in life. And in your hobby, there's no reason that you shouldn't pay for your experience. I think it's fair. I think it's reasonable. And I think that a shop like yours does it in a way that is good for the game and good for the players involved. So,
but do you realize how many people have that mentality versus how many people say, I don't have to pay for it, or it's $13, except the store up the street is $12. It's unbelievable. Some of the questions and some of the comments that I get, I don't care. I just run it the way I see fit, and I've been doing it for 25 years.
I think it's a part of your character and confidence, like that you can have somebody come into your store and say, well, somebody else does it cheaper, and you know your numbers, you know why you're doing it the way you are. I can say from experience that you're not gouging anybody on prices on product. I mean, when Lorcana boxes were selling for $250 a box, yours weren't.
Right.
So I think it would be disingenuous for people to say that you're doing it for to drive up prices or to manipulate anything. But you're fair, and you know that it affects whether or not people participate.
You know how many times people will come into the store and they'll say, and not Lorcana, but other products, they'll say, how much is your pack? I'll say $4.99. Well, Walmart's selling it for $4.98. Yeah, so what? Walmart doesn't even pay for their product until it sells. That's when they pay the distributor. And for a penny or 2 pennies, you're going to bitch about it? No. But believe me, I get a lot of those complaints. And I get people that come in wanting me to buy their cards that I've never, ever seen before. And they'll come in to me and say, I want to buy my cards. And one time I asked them, I said, where'd you buy your cards at? Well, I got them at Walmart. And I said, well, go to Walmart and try to sell them. Well, they don't buy back cards. It's precisely my point. I'm not buying your cards. And that was it.
Yeah, I think we can spend a whole long conversation on buy lists and economies of interacting with your customers in that way. Taking product, coming across the counter from my side to your side is a whole different discussion that we could have. But we've been talking a lot this week, John. Why don't we transition for a minute before we wrap it up? I know we've talked about having conversations about things that may not necessarily connect directly into the card shop. Anything exciting going on for you or that you've heard about this week that you want to share on the podcast?
No.
Not a thing.
No, not really. I mean, all seriousness, being aside, I want to talk about the origins of podcasts. As an older person, I'm saying, what the hell is a podcast? And then I finally educated myself. And I came up with this idea, and I discussed it briefly with you the other day. We ought to have some snippets of news of some sort each week that has nothing to do with the card shop. I think it's going to depict our personality. And my snippets are going to be 3 E's. Educate, enlighten, and what was the other one? Come on, Noah, help me. Educate, enlighten.
You wrote it down.
Damn, I wrote it down.
Entertain.
Entertain.
We've covered that.
And I've already entertained because I forgot. It's written right in front of me. But I think that's what we should bring into our podcast. And that'll show our personality a little bit. What about you? What happened this week? Anything for you?
Well, I thought we might throw in a G into that and gloat just a little bit.
Gloat? About what?
Well, we are from North Carolina, and the greatest game in all of sports happened this weekend.
I'm from Newark, New Jersey.
We're in North Carolina right now, John. What wasn't there a big basketball game on Saturday night?
Oh, I don't even want to hear about it.
Oh,
I don't want to hear about it. There's a couple of things we shouldn't discuss. politics, religion, and Duke Carolina basketball.
There's
At
no
least,
reason-
on public in a public forum.
We're very civil about it, though.
We're very civil, and Duke didn't play well at all.
I will say, in all seriousness, though, I have serious concerns about the NCAA tournament this year for a lot of teams. I've watched college basketball for years. I've watched a lot of games this year from every major conference. The officiating is vastly different conference to conference and game to game. And teams that play what I consider more pure basketball, like Carolina and Duke, are going to have problems with teams that play bully ball and foul all the time if you have the wrong officiating crew.
I agree.
Part of my frustration with the game this weekend was that the referees didn't call anything for 95% of the basketball game, and then they locked it down for 4 or 5 minutes, and then they stopped again. And that's hard for players, that's hard for fans. It's not a great experience for the game, and I think that's what we're going to see in the NCAA tournament, is that there are going to be games that are very street ball, there are going to be games that are very clean, and it's going to be difficult for teams to adapt game to game, and it's going to create a dynamic that may take away from some of the fun this year.
Oh, I agree, 100%. Hey, one other thing we're going to discuss on this podcast on occasion is our mutual love for anything Disney. I know that you've gone to Disney World a number of times. So have I. I think it's fun. It's my relaxation, my hobby, I guess, for lack of a better term. And it's kind of ironic because when I lived out in California, I went past Disneyland every day for 3.5 years, but I never went to Disneyland. And that was because I was working all the time. I was commuting. I never had the time. And I kind of regret it. But, now I go to Disney World. I know you had an annual pass a couple of years ago. How many times did you go?
My wife kept the official count. I like to say 11.
11
but
times.
It might have been 10. I don't. She's got the official number, but it was more times than I think is reasonable. But we took the kids and my wife. We went with my family a couple of different times. We had a great time. We went with some friends visiting from England at one point. It was a lot of fun, and it's definitely something. Even if you can't go 11 times in a year, you should go and have a great time. It's a fun place to be.
Well, Noah got gifted these annual passes to his family from his parents, so he made good use of it. I don't think in his right mind he would do it again. 11 times, 10 or 11 times is kind of much.
Only if you don't live in Florida.
Well, this is true. But we live in the great state of North Carolina, so it's from here, it's 650 miles exactly down to Disney World. And I plan on going again maybe in April. And I'm definitely going down at Christmas time with my family. And it's going to be fun.
See, and the one thing I know that they've added that changes the drive and the experience is there are multiple Buc-ee's. And if people don't know what Buc-ee's is...
Buc-ee's is great.
You got the experience of a lifetime, great food, more gas pumps than I think you'll see anywhere else in the world in a single location, and just a lot of fun.
They're building the Buc-ee's, about 10 miles from here or less?
They are.
And that's going to be great.
Very exciting opportunity, I think, locally, and it's definitely going to change my dieting plans. So,
all right, Noah, well, what do you say? We wrap it up for today?
Yeah, let's sign it off real quick. Before we close it out, just again, calls to action for all of our fans and friends listening. On the internet, we need your help. There's algorithms and computer math that's going to decide whether other people get introduced to our content, so we'd appreciate it if you'll like and subscribe to our content on all the different platforms. You're probably listening to this right now on Spotify, but we're looking to have it on the Google Play Store, on iTunes. We're going to try to have it up on YouTube shortly. Any of those forums where you have an account, we'd love it if you'd look us up there. We're also on Instagram and X with accounts there to give updates and snippets from the show. If you could follow us on that, it would be incredibly helpful. And we're hoping that on the start of the next episode, we'll also tell you a little bit more about the options that are available to help us out on Patreon, so that if you are interested in doing something that involves monetary support for the show, you have an option to do that, but obviously it's not required, and we really appreciate everybody that's listened to us today. So thank you for signing in, and look forward to speaking with you guys next week.
All right, this is me again. All right, saying goodbye to everybody. Have a good week. Thank you.